Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. This is the first video I'm making to review a tarot deck that I have. I got a lot of new tarot decks over the last 2 years, and some of them I haven't even really taken the chance to look at. So I decided that I was going to do a video series to review all of the decks that I have purchased recently, not only so that I can familiarize myself with them, but also so that you can be familiarized with them. And if you decide that you would like to buy this deck for yourself, you'll know a little bit more about it. Or if you would like me to do a reading for you with a particular deck, let me know. There might be a deck that you see that speaks to you, and maybe you would just like just a sample reading before you buy it, or you just really want to know what these particular cards have in store for you. And you can let me know if you'd like in the comments, or you can message me or email me at info@spillthetealeaf.com. But let me get right into this first deck. So this is the Chrysalis Tarot Deck. It's created by Holly Sierra and Toney Brooks. So it comes in a cardboard box, like many a tarot deck. See the box look better, and of course you can see the artwork on the box, which is what attracted me to this deck. Now I think I got this deck at a store in Salem, Massachusetts, but of course I no longer remember why would I remember such a simple thing. When I get a tarot deck, I really appreciate it when it includes a book. Now, a lot of the books you get are really small. This one looks like those small books, but it's pretty thick. I don't know how well you guys can see this, but it's a good size book for a paper one that comes in your regular size tarot card box. And I'm really glad that this book was included because, as you'll see momentarily, this deck is not based entirely in the tradition that you're used to, primarily the Rider-Waite imagery. And there are some significant differences. So although it's a very intuitive deck, I feel, I do really appreciate knowing what the creators were thinking, so that it can help me and guide me a little bit as I continue to learn the deck. So along with the book, it also comes with a title card, which is also the Wheel of Fortune card, and information about both the painter and the writer. So you can learn about the creators as well, which is important because it's their work. So the first thing that jumped out at me with this deck, with the major arcana here, so we have Merlin, and he is the hero. And there's two things about this that are weird, as I'm sure you've already picked up on. Obviously, the zero card, the first card, is usually the fool, but in this deck it's the hero. And the second thing is, it's just really interesting that Merlin fits this particular card, because you usually think of Merlin as the magician, and here it's not. He's the fool character, the hero. So I really love the artwork of these cards. And you can see from this one, this is the regular title, it's the magician, and it's ravens. It's not people, it's something else. But you can tell from the imagery really what they're going for here. And each of the major arcana cards has a title where it tells you who it is, or what type of person it is, along with the title of the card itself. So Gaia is the Empress, the Green Man is the Emperor. And what's really cool is that this deck includes imagery from lots of different cultures. So there's Egyptian, obviously Greek and Roman, and Celtic is in here, Native American. So it's really neat. It really spans, maybe not the entire globe, but a good portion of the globe. So you get a good idea of what this is, sort of no matter what your background is. There's an in for just about anyone. If you're not familiar with the stories, it does tell you a little bit more in the book that's included. So those are the major arcana cards. I'll leave those up. So the other thing that popped out at me right away with this deck was that the suits are different. So here we have the mirrors, which are standing for the cups. We have stones instead of pentacles. We have scrolls instead of swords. And we have spirals instead of wands. The other thing that's really interesting about this deck is that the court cards are very different. So I'll take a moment to show you the court cards of each deck. So they do have traditional page, knight, queen, king, sort of. And each one has a title. So we have healer, dreamer, watcher, sojourner. And they don't really feel like traditional court cards. Certainly there are some things that they share, but they have a very different feel to them. I'll take a moment to go through and show you. Let's see, here we go. And the kings especially don't feel like kings, and the knights don't feel like what you imagine when you think of knights either. Oh, that's a major arcana, silly me. So it's really different, and I really appreciate the thought that went into creating all of these. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit. I just want to make sure I show them all to you first. All right, so this is when the book really comes in handy. So, of course, there's an introduction, and in the introduction, right here-ish, it tells you what those suits are. So you don't have to guess what they are. It obviously tells you right here. And then for each of the cards, it has keywords or attributes. So as you go through, especially if you're trying to compare the artist's intention, the creator's intention with what you're used to with more traditional decks, you can look and see, okay, here's the traditional title, here's a glimpse of what the card is, and then here's an explanation. So for the major arcana, they all have attributes, and then the blurbs tell you more about them. And in doing so, you can also learn a little bit about the culture that the images are taken from. So that's all major arcana, traditional title, attributes. And then when you get to the minor arcana, one thing that I really like is that each suit, it gives you an explanation of the suit. So again, it tells you what the traditional names are. It gives you some of the values that are inherent in the entire suit. So you can read about that before going into each card. And each card has a keyword that goes with it. There we go. So the Ace of Stones, which of course is the more traditional Ace of Pentacles or Ace of Coins, is abundance, which for anyone familiar with tarot cards, that makes perfect sense. But sometimes they're a little bit different. And so if that seems different to you, it's easy to just check in real quick and see what that keyword is. And then if you're not sure, if you need to go deeper, you can read the blurb. I find that sometimes the blurbs, depending on the card, sometimes offer a lot more insight, and sometimes it just kind of confirms for me what I think the keyword means. So when I was going through this deck and really using my intuition, and then afterwards going and comparing my intuition to the intention, I found that even if the keyword didn't match my intuition, there was usually something in the blurb that did. And so I wrote down for myself, because I would never ever mark up a book. That's not me, so I wouldn't underline or highlight. But certainly you could if you're comfortable doing that. But I wrote down somewhere else what the keywords were from the blurb that I liked that went along with the keyword they provide. So as you can see here, each section on the minor arcana ends with tens, and they have all of the court cards together in the end. And I'm gonna go to that page in the book, and just with everything else, there's an explanation. So they call the court cards the troupe. They're all, entertainers when you look at them again, so that's kind of cool. So it tells you about them, and then it goes into detail about each one. And each one, it gives you the traditional name and attributes, just like the major arcana, and then it also has the role. And the role, I think, is really cool, because when you think of the court cards, the roles are the page, knight, queen, king, right? Like, those are the roles. These, they're still called the king of whatever the suit is, so in this case, stones, but the king isn't the role. So the minstrel and the king are two completely different roles, right? You usually don't have a king who's a minstrel or a minstrel who's a king, unless it's the king of minstrels, I suppose. But it tells you that the role is the mentor, and all of the kings are the mentors. All of the queens are muses. All of the knights are mystics. Oh, I lost my page. There we go. And all of the pages are messengers. So those are really what the roles are. And because, again, you have these attributes, and then the blurb, it really dives in and tells you about each card, so that you really can get to know these court cards, because they are probably the most, or I should say the least traditional cards of the deck, just in that their roles feel completely different, the cards feel completely different, and it's not necessarily what you're used to, even though they are still labeled as page, knight, queen, and king. The other thing I always look for in a book when I get a deck is the spread or spreads that they offer. And this book does not disappoint. There is one spread in the back. Ta-da! It is a pentagram 5-card spread, although it's actually 6, because you have to use a I can't talk anymore. You have to use a significator card. So that's the one and only spread. I will say that I'm a little disappointed that there's only one spread. Like, in my world, I want there to be like 2 or 3 unique spreads, and I do appreciate that they're unique, and it's not just like, hey, here's a Celtic cross, or hey, here's a 3-card spread that you do every day already. This just does not want to stand up. Put it there. So this is the Chrysalis Tarot Deck. I really love the artwork. It really speaks to me. Although my intuition doesn't always match what was the intention of the creators. It does feel very intuitive. I have used this a couple times, but mainly just to find like an energy of the week type card. I haven't really done a full out spread yet, so I'll be doing probably the spread in the book sometime soon. But I did go through all the cards and did some interview with the tarot deck spreads. And for me, I think this deck is something that would help with shadow work, which is interesting because when I look at it, I don't think shadows. It feels like a very bright deck, but it's an honest deck. It's a truth teller. And it really wants to reflect things back to you. So I think this would be good for shadow work. I think it would also be good for ancestral work, which is pretty cool. I don't know how it would work with other people. I would love to try it out on someone else and do a spread, even if it's just a simple 3-card one, just to get a feel for if the vibe changes when it's someone other than me as the subject. But I really like this deck, and I look forward to continue to learning about it and with it. So Chrysalis Tarot by Toney Brooks and Holly Sierra. And there it is. Thank you so much for watching my video. And let me know if you have any questions. And again, if you would like me to do a reading for you with this deck, just reach out. You can comment, message me, or email me. info@spillthetealeaf.com. And my name is Debbie. Thanks so much. Bye.